Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good morning and namaste everybody. We are back again for another installment of the Ask Swami. So we get all these questions from all over the world, and we came up with this idea of an internet forum. So where we select some of those questions and we try to discuss them and try to answer them to the best of our ability. And it's uploaded on the net. So that has turned out to be one of the most popular things which we do over the years. We also take questions from the live audience. So if you have questions, I'll ask you to raise your hands. I'll call upon you. You can come forward here. And there's a microphone. You can come here and ask your question. Diane is going to read out the questions from the internet audience. Diane, what do we have this morning?
Well, we have two questions on the same subject, Swamiji. The first one is from an 18-year-old from Calcutta in India called Atri. She says, I was a hardcore atheist for as long as I can remember. I was also idle for the longest time. It was only recently that I came across one of your talks titled, Who Am I?, which really made me reconsider. For the first time, I found the most logical, rational explanation to God, as well as life and the self. I got the intuitive understanding, and it made me look at things in a different light entirely. But I struggle to grasp the part where you repeatedly focus on love God, a personal relationship with God. Correct me if I'm wrong, but God is nothing but that pure consciousness, the reason for all our experiences, and that which is subjective. Love is usually felt by one for another, but there's dualism. There's only one subject because of which the objects seem to exist. How do I love something subjective without objectifying it? I do not know how to channel my intellectual understanding into devotion. Whenever I hear God, I think of the pure consciousness on which the world is being reflected, and how nothing is real, and then loving consciousness seems absurd to me. And then there's another question from somebody else.
Okay, you can read the other question too,
yes.
If it's the same kind.
This is from Renato Billo. How can I think of the divine and adore him when I state that he is just awareness and nothing else? How can I combine my idea of the divine as pure awareness with my personal God as perceptible protector and guide?
Yes. Both questions are about the same thing. How do you reconcile devotion, which intuitively seems dualistic, and the non-dual knowledge, that there is one limitless consciousness appearing as all of this, and I am that limitless consciousness. So how is devotion, bhakti, possible in that one non-dual consciousness in Brahman? And yet here we seem to speak about both. So how is that possible? First of all, let's appreciate the force of that statement, that it's not possible. As Atri says, how can I be devoted or love pure consciousness? That idea seems absurd to me. Sri Ramakrishna said that there were these two attitudes in spiritual life. Either you want to taste sugar or you want to become sugar. Sometimes he would ask, do you want to become sugar or do you want to taste sugar? The devotee says, I want to taste sugar. I want to enjoy the bliss of God, of loving God, of establishing a loving relationship with God. The jnani, the one on the path of knowledge, says that I want to be one with God. I want to realize my oneness with the divine. I want to realize I am Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. These seem to be two different attitudes, and they don't seem to be... how can you reconcile being sugar and tasting sugar at the same time? So yes, this is, first of all, devotion is possible. There will be some kind of duality, that one loves another. One loves one's own nature. One can put it that way, but that seems to be stretching the meaning of love too much. Adi Shankaracharya says the real meaning of bhakti is the intense desire to find out who am I. Swaswarup Anusandhanam, that's the real bhakti. That might be, but that's not what we normally understand as bhakti. We understand bhakti as our devotion to God in some form. In the theistic religions, God is to be worshipped, adored, believed in. And there is some element of distinction at least. Either a clear distinction between God and devotee, or at least some element, part and whole distinction between God and... So, that's... it's understood what Atreyu says, and the other question also from Renato. Yes. So I'm saying first, yes. And next, you can hear a but there. But no, it's possible. Both are possible. You can be a jnani and a bhakta at the same time. First of all, look at the evidence. Look at Sri Ramakrishna. He was a jnani and a bhakta. Look at Vivekananda, Maharshi, they were jnanis and bhaktas. Look at Ramana Maharshi, who was regarded as just embodying non-dual knowledge. But he was full of devotion for Arunachala Shiva. Very deep devotion. Look at Adi Shankaracharya. I was just looking up our book of hymns and prayers in Sanskrit, Stavananjali, and that's a collection of the choicest hymns in Sanskrit from a religion that's at least 5,000 years old, starting from the Vedas down to our time. A collection, an eclectic collection. And how many of those hymns, which are almost all of them are devotional, almost all, how many of them are attributed to one person, Adi Shankaracharya? I was counting, nearly 1/4 were from one source in the 5,000-year-old collection. So here is this person who embodies Advaita Vedanta more better than Adi Shankaracharya himself. And yet he is a great bhakta. So first of all, it's possible. It's possible. But then the question remains, how? How can we reconcile it? I'll give you a few approaches to this. One is, one might have one approach in spiritual life, the path of knowledge, for example, as predominant, and the devotion aspect as secondary, not so expressed. I have seen very senior monks in our order who are like that either devotion predominated or knowledge predominated. Swami Vivekananda recommends the harmony of the 4 yogas, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga and Raja Yoga, for a well-developed, harmonious spiritual life. Now, in each of our cases, the 4 yogas can be present, but the mix need not be the same in each person's case, depending on our predispositions, on our philosophical approach. See, the mix may be different. For example, traditional philosophies of Vedanta, Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita, Dvaita-Advaita and so on, in most cases they have a combination of these yogas, but they're different according to the philosophical paradigm of each school. So in Advaita Vedanta, enlightenment is realization that I am Brahman. What is enlightenment? You realize I am Brahman. And that realization alone leads to moksha, or liberation. That alone leads to Jivan Mukti, freedom while living. So that is the realization that Advaita Vedanta talks about. And that is attainable, how? Only through Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge, through Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, systematically listening to, studying the Vedantic texts, reasoning about it and meditating upon one's understanding and conclusions. But at the same time, traditional Advaita Vedanta gives a lot of emphasis on karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and meditation, upasana. So devotion, meditation, and selfless work. They are all at a secondary level, at a preparatory level, at a purifying level. By karma yoga, one is supposed to purify one's mind, and by meditation, one is supposed to focus the purified mind. And this purified and focused mind is very useful for attaining jnana, knowledge that I am Brahman. So all yogas are there, even in a jnana yogi's life. Now, someone like Ramanuja comes and he flips it around. And he says, bhakti is the highest. By jnana, we realize that we are part of the divine. We are not just flesh and blood, but we are pure consciousness. We are part of the divine consciousness. Then you establish a relationship of the individual consciousness with the supreme consciousness. And that relationship is one of bliss, of love, of devotion, of bhakti. So bhakti will take you to the highest, according to Ramanuja. But again, my point here is, notice the elements of jnana and bhakti are both present in Vishishtadvaita Vedanta. Karma also. All of these schools, they have a role for karma yoga. They all admit the purifying power of karma yoga. So the mix of all four yogas, the harmony of four yogas, is there in each of the paths, most of these schools. Some schools will exclusively favor one. So for example, the Achintya Bheda Veda school, the school of Bengal Vaishnavism, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, that says exclusively devotion. Bhakti alone will take you to the highest. So this is one way that the harmony of the yogas is there in our spiritual life from the very beginning. In one sense you are a jnani, in another sense you are a bhakta. All are possible at the same time. Not only possible, Vivekananda strongly recommends all should be there in our spiritual practice. The traditional schools of Vedanta also recommend that, except that there is a hierarchy of the yogas. Another way in which the two can be reconciled is when when Swami Vivekananda says about Sri Ramakrishna and himself, he says, I am jnana only on the outside. On the inside, my heart is very soft, he says. I am all devotion inside, bhakti, love inside. But he, the old man, he meant Sri Ramakrishna, old man. By the way, Sri Ramakrishna was barely 50 when he passed away. The old man. So the old man is bhakti on the outside, but inside he was all jnana. Jnana means the realization of non-dual Brahman. That means one can be apparently one type of spiritual seeker. Maybe one seems to be very devotional in one's approach. Internally, one may be entirely different. That's also possible. One may be a bhakta outside and a jnani inside. A jnani outside and a bhakta inside. That's possible. So that's another way in which you can reconcile both of them. Now the question here still remains unanswered. Atraya might say, yes, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You are limitless consciousness. So suppose that is what jnana says. There's one limitless consciousness appearing as the many. And then who is to be devoted to whom? How would, if you are a thoroughgoing understanding, I'm not even saying realization of that I am Brahman. Just a thoroughgoing understanding. If you at all understand what Advaita Vedanta tells you, then how is bhakti possible, reasonably speaking? That was the question. That's the core of the question, the kernel of the question. And the answer is this. Notice, Advaita Vedanta, and Atra is also written, there is one limitless consciousness in which the world is reflected, or that limitless consciousness appears as this world. The crucial point is appearance. Even after the realization, I am one limitless Brahman, one limitless existence, consciousness, bliss, you will still see that the world is appearing to you, names and forms. You'll still see that you have a body. You still see that you have this life which you were leading till now. That life will continue. In fact, that is what a Jivan Mukta is, who continues living in this body and mind even after the full realization that I am Brahman. After all, if you realize all the ornaments in a jewelry shop, they're all gold. Do the necklaces and the bracelets and the rings, they all disappear now that you have realized it's all gold, so I can't be a necklace or a bracelet or a ring anymore? No, of course not. Once you realize all the waves in the Atlantic Ocean are just water, the same water, do all the waves suddenly subside? Oh, he's realized we are water. We can't be waves anymore. No. It continues exactly. One sadhu said in Hindi, I'll tell you what he said in Hindi and then translate. Gyan koi tod phod nahi karta hai. Jnana, knowledge, does not destroy, damage, change, modify anything in the world. It just shows you what really exists all the time. What was always there, for some reason, for some ignorance, we didn't see what was there earlier. In the ocean with 10,000 waves, there's only just one water that always was there. In fact, it's because of the water that you see these 10,000 waves. It's because of the underlying one that we see these 10,000 things. It's a phrase in Buddhism, 10,000 things, which means the world, samsara. Once you see that one, these 10,000 things will keep on appearing. But I'm using the word appearance. They are no longer the ultimate reality. What's the difference then between not knowing and then knowing, not realizing and then realizing, not being enlightened and enlightenment? If you see the same thing, then what's the difference? The difference is we saw the 10,000 things earlier, this world earlier, and we thought this is the reality. There's nothing more to it. It's a material reality. That's it. But the enlightened person sees, no. That's not the last word about it. There's a deeper reality, a spiritual reality. And you are the spiritual reality of this entire display. The display will continue, but then you can call it a display. Then you can call it an appearance. Before that, doesn't make sense to call it an appearance because it's just real. This is what it is. Now, the world will continue. And you also will continue not only as Brahman, of course you are Brahman, but you will also continue as that person Atre. And nothing that the person does will stop. You will still walk and talk and have friends and eat and go to school, get an education, live the life of Atre also. That will continue. If that continues, if my individual life continues, then the cosmos also continues, the world also continues. Yes, you can call it an appearance, but the appearance continues. And if I continue as an individual, that one consciousness in and through this one being, that same one consciousness, Advaita makes it even more clear now, that same one consciousness is behind this display of 10,000 things also. Then that one consciousness is God for you. Let me repeat. Yes, it's one non-dual Brahman. But as long as the one non-dual Brahman appears as the person Atre, it also appears to Atre as the God of Atre's universe. And it's more real then. Earlier, the God you worshipped before the understanding of Advaita Vedanta was a matter of faith, belief, emotion. But now, you know for a fact that behind all of this display there is one reality which you know because it's your own reality. It's more real than anything else. And then you also notice that reality is associated, continues to be associated with one body-mind, yourself. In that case, that reality also is associated with millions and millions of bodies, minds, and this entire universe. Then you, that reality as an individual, and you, that reality as God, you can have a relationship of devotion. The individual and the cosmic cannot be one. As individual and as cosmic, there can be a relation between the two. The relation is always devotion. The part is always devoted to the whole. Shankaracharya himself sings that though you and I are one, the wave always belongs to the ocean. The ocean does not belong to the wave. As water, both are one. As Nirguna Brahman, you and God are one. Tattvamasi, aham brahmasmi, I am that. But as the person, I am the devotee of God. Why this does not seem appealing or real, I'll tell you why. Because I listened very carefully to what you wrote, Atre. You said, nothing is real. That phrase was used? No. It's not nothing is real. Did you see? Does she write towards the end of her question?
Oh, yes, she does, yes. Whenever I hear God, I think of the pure consciousness on which the world is being reflected and how nothing is real, and then loving consciousness seems absurd to me.
That is crucial. If you think nothing is real, then what is there to love? But that's not what Advaita Vedanta says. Advaita Vedanta says Brahman is real. What you know as Brahman, as I am that, again, that one as Atreya can love that one as God. The reality of this universe is Brahman. When you say nothing is real, what is that nothing you are dismissing? What we are doing is, we are throwing away the baby with the bathwater. When you experience the universe, you are not experiencing just names and forms. You are experiencing Brahman with the names and forms. When we experience the waves in the ocean, it's not that we are experiencing just ghostly forms of the waves. No, we are experiencing the water which is appearing as the waves. When we are experiencing this universe right now, we are experiencing Brahman. We are experiencing Brahman with a coating of names and forms. The names and forms in themselves, by themselves, and of themselves are not real. But that which manifests them, that which is always there underneath them, as their base, as their ground, is real. It is the reality. It is Brahman. God is as real as Atreya is. To the extent that we consider ourselves real, and we do a very good job of considering ourselves to be real. One of our teachers, as in our monastery, used to say, Advaita, non-duality, is meant to be applied to yourself. Jnana to yourself, knowledge to yourself, bhakti to God. But you fools, meaning the trainee monks, you are very good at applying jnana to God. Oh, the temple worship and all of that is nothing. Advaita has shown me. But very good at applying bhakti to yourself. When the bell rings, time for food, happily go and put food in your mouth. You consider yourselves to be very real. And your experts are denying the reality of everything else. No, that will not work. That will not work. It's a crucial phase. What do you mean when you say nothing is real? If you say literally nothing is real and yet hold oneself to be real somehow, it leads to alienation. It leads to unhappiness and depression. In one sense, everything is real, not as this material world, as Brahman. And therefore one can have a devotional relationship with God. I think that answers both Atreya's question and Renato's question. Can we take one more from the internet audience? Get ready with your question. I'll ask you to raise your hands after this, those who want to ask a question.
This question is from Venu Gudimetla. If a person meditates on the formless consciousness and succeeds in realizing the Atman, will they be able to realize Ishvara, God with form, immediately? Or do they have to meditate again on some form of Ishvara? Does realizing Atman also mean one can see Paramatman immediately?
So let's put it in this way. If I realize I am pure consciousness, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, I am of the nature of consciousness, bliss, I am Shiva, the non-dual realization. Do I also automatically have a vision of God, as Kali or Vishnu or, Christ, in whichever form you worship God, whichever form you believe in God? Does that also come together? Is it a bonus? Is it an add-on, a topping on your pizza? The answer is no, it won't. Sri Ramakrishna says there are these two approaches to spiritual life. Once he was he was shown how a photograph is taken, not mobile phone and clicking. In those days it was much more complex thing. They had a plate on which they put silver nitrate, and that was used as a photographic plate to develop the image. And Sri Ramakrishna, of course, would relate everything back to spiritual life. And he says, this is it. If you put that, he would say moshla in Bengali. If you put that, smear it with that silver nitrate, then various forms will be caught on that plate. But if you do not smear it with that silver nitrate, just light streams through it. Pure light streams through it. Similarly, if the devotee's mind is conditioned by love of God in some form, my beloved Krishna, that name of Krishna, that form of Krishna, and I have conditioned my mind through years of devotion and practice, then you will have the vision of God and the presence of God. But if you do not, and if you practice the non-dual path, who am I? Inquiry into one's own real nature. As Sri Ramakrishna says, pure light will stream through. No particular form you will not experience any particular form. Or the other way around. He says, in the ocean, due to intense cold, the water freezes into icebergs in different places, different forms. And when the sun of knowledge arises, the icebergs melt back into the water. So, this is the other way around. Due to intense devotion, one realizes God in the form one wants to realize. It's a reality. It's the same water, by the way. This is also an answer to the earlier question, you see. The realization of God through devotion, dualistic approach, and non-dual realization. Sri Ramakrishna would say it's the same water. Whether you experience it as water, formless, or in icebergs with different forms. The icebergs form due to the intense devotion. I'm mixing metaphors here. The intense devotion makes that reality appear to the devotee in that particular form. It's still real. It's not imagination. It's not imagination. It's still real. But then the devotee will also realize the reality of the God I've experienced is the formless pure consciousness. So when the sun of knowledge rises, the iceberg melts back into water. Here there's a little tweak Sri Ramakrishna added. Because the devotional dualistic religions don't talk about this limitless, formless consciousness. They say God is in this particular form, Narayana, Vishnu, Devi, Shiva, Father in heaven, Jehovah, Allah, whatever form. And in whatever form means may not be a physical form, a conceptual form also. In that form, I am worshipping God, and that's the last thing. There is no further pure consciousness, I am Brahman, that's the final thing. So are they wrong? Are the dualistic religions wrong? Now Sri Ramakrishna never, the non-dual approach, Advaita Vedanta would say they're not wrong, but it's lower. You have to still come up, we are up here now, come up here. That there is no further form of God, and there is only one limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. But this is again a kind of hierarchy, a kind of superiority of the non-dual approach. Sri Ramakrishna was against that. Why? He said it's the same reality. If you want to experience it in the form of an iceberg, do continue. Because it's the same water. If it's your preference. He says, I have heard there are regions of eternal ice. And so he was talking about the North Pole, the South Pole. I've heard that there are regions of eternal ice where the ice does not melt. What he means by that is that the dualistic religion, those who want to love and worship God and remain eternally in the presence of God and enjoy the presence of God, they're also right. They can also experience that if they want. Which one is better? Which one should be? So the answer is given to the person who asked. The realization of one does not automatically mean the realization of the other. It can lead you to realization in both ways. But which one is better? So a monk once asked Swami Shivananda. Swami Shivananda was one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna and the second president of our order after Swami Brahmananda. A monk asked Swami Shivananda, we read about these two ideals. One is to realize that we are limitless consciousness and be merged in that and remain as that. You don't retain an individuality anymore. Or remain as individual devotees in an eternal heaven with eternal God. So suppose I want to remain in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna in heaven, in Ramakrishna Loka. Which one? Which one will we attain? Or should we attain? And Sri Ramakrishna said, not Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Shivananda said to that monk, it depends upon your attitude. Bhava in Sanskrit, bhava, or Bengali, bhava. What attitude, how have you cultivated and built up your spiritual life? What is it that you aspire towards? And you will get, what your bhava is, that you will get. So that means we must intensely aspire to one or the other. We must try for something sincerely. Then he added, Swami Shivananda added, and this is very important. He said, but if you ask me, my child, I would advise you to leave it to Thakur, to Sri Ramakrishna. What will happen to us after enlightenment, after death, in lives in future. We don't understand these things. We have certain intellectual constructs by which we are trying to grasp things which are beyond our understanding. So, you may like one, you may not like the other one, but ultimately leave it to God. God will say, thank you. Not that we have much choice. All right. Anybody wants to ask a question? Please come, Bill. I'll come next.
I'm Bill. I've read that in Samkhya they posit 24 categories of existence in addition to Purusha, which is eternal, the result of Prakriti. And the first of these I read is Mahat, and sometimes translated as universal intelligence. Could you explain Mahat? I don't get it.
Yes. Mahat is taken, so the Sankhya system is dualistic, and there are two ultimate categories, ultimately. One is Purusha, consciousness, which we are, each of us, really speaking. Not the body, not the mind, just consciousness itself. And the other one is Prakriti, nature, everything else. The entire physical universe, time, space, matter, energy, our bodies, even our minds, our intellects, all of that. So, according to Sankhya, Mahat is the first evolute from Prakriti, which is cosmic intelligence. Think about it this way. The awareness which we have just after deep sleep, we awaken into a sense of our existence, even before the I am. The I am is already ego. After waking up from deep sleep, I am, and then I am sleeping, this is morning, and I'm awake now, all of that comes. But before that, a sense of awareness comes. That is an example to show how from the seed Prakriti, Mula Prakriti, intelligence appears first. And then an ego, which is associated with the intelligence, because Ahankara is the next one after Mahat. I guess that's all that one can say. And this is not at our individual level, this is at a cosmic level.
Does it influence my own intelligence?
Our own intelligence is a part of that Mahat. Again, I'm giving you Vedantic interpretation of that. Because Sankhya does not speak about a cosmic intelligence. Vedanta alone speaks of a cosmic intelligence. All our minds together is the cosmic mind, of which the cosmic intelligence is a part. I think we'll have to leave it at that. Yes. You had a question. Please come. And then I'll take one. Who raised your hand? The gentleman. I'll take your question next, and then we'll come back to you later on. Please tell us your name and ask the question.
Hi, Swami. My name is Arvind. Is it possible to understand and practice Bhakti Yoga in non-theistic terms? Because I've been struggling with this recently. Like, even if I conceptualize ultimate reality, because there's appearances, and I conceptualize it as Buddha nature, I'm not sure how one is devoted to Buddha nature.
Are you coming from a Tibetan Buddhist or a Mahayana background?
My primary practice is mindfulness in the Zen tradition.
So that's the problem then, because in certain Mahayana traditions, there is Bhakti Yoga very openly. There is devotional practices, because there are deities. If not God with a capital G, there are helpful deities. Avalokiteshvara, Tara, these are deities in Tibetan Buddhism, and an attitude of devotion is cultivated very clearly. So that's as much Bhakti Yoga as what we do in Hinduism or in the other theistic religions. In Zen Buddhism, God or the deities are not introduced. So the emotions would be just one more thing that you are aware of. You'd have to ask your sensei or your Roshi, what do you do with emotions? Can bhakti be practiced? Because what would be the object of bhakti then?
Yeah, I mean, the closest that I could get to it was like reverence for nature, reverence for life, something like that.
Yes, a reverence for the Buddha. Reverence for the Buddha. That is cultivated in the Theravada schools. Yes. Yes, please come. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Good morning, Swami. My name is Nicholas. My question is, can you reflect upon that story you taught when you were a novice with the senior sadhu who has told you that we're missing it 1,000 times each moment? What was his exact paradigm shift, and how has that left a deep impression on your mind?
Yes, what you're referring to, it has left a deep impression on my mind, because I don't have to even, I was just noticing, I didn't have to make an effort to recollect what's he talking about. I know immediately what you're talking about. This happened about nearly 30 years ago, 27, 28 years ago. There was this monk, we have a small ashram near Jairambati. Jairambati is the birthplace of the Holy Mother, and there's a big ashram there. There's a smaller ashram in a village a few kilometers from Jairambati, which is called Koalpara. And this monk was the head of the Koalpara ashram at that time, long ago. It was nearly 27, 28 years ago, and he's not alive anymore. He was a strange one, that monk. I've heard many stories about him, but I met him just the once or twice, that's all. And we, as a group of novices, we were taken our first visit to Jairambati and that village Koalpara and the ashram there where Holy Mother is to go. It's even now it's completely a village. Jairambati is transformed into a bigger and bigger village, almost like a small town now, almost. Whereas Koalpara is still a village, completely a village. There are mud houses and all, huts. And the ashram is also very small. So I remember this monk was sitting there, and we as youngsters who had first time visiting, we were walking around, and I went and sat near him. He was drinking tea from a little clay pot, like the matka you get in India. He was drinking tea and he was talking to us. I still remember one, apart from what you said, one interesting thing was he was drinking this tea, and a little girl from the village was standing there holding onto the wooden beam of the hut, the pillar of the hut, and looking longingly at the cup of tea in his hand. And while the monk was talking to me, even sort of absent-mindedly, he handed over the little cup to the little girl, who happily took it and scampered off. And then this monk turned to me and he said, "You know, Vishwarup," that's my pre-monastic name. "You know, Vishwarup, we are missing it 1,000 times every day, every moment. It's right here. We're missing it 1,000 times every moment." The more I studied Vedanta over the years and decades since, I begin to see what he means. It's blazing forth here all the time. We are surrounded in it. We are immersed in it. But yet we are missing it. Why we are missing it? Perhaps precisely because it's not one thing among many other things. If it was one thing among many other things, one of those 10,000 things which surround us, then we could hunt for it and find it. But it is none of these 10,000 things and all of them also. And I'm sorry to sound very mystical and mystifying. In one sense, it is not at all mystical or mystifying. It's the only reality that there ever is or was. But like my professor in Buddhism, who teaches Nagarjuna, Professor Garfield, he says fish are the wrong people to ask about water. Fish are the wrong people to ask about water. We are the wrong people to ask about pure consciousness or Brahman, precisely because we are that. I can put it in this way in Vedantic terms, that whatever we experience exists. And that Brahman or the Atman is the very existence of all this, just as water is the very existence of all the waves in the ocean. Gold is the very existence of all the ornaments in the shop. Similarly, That Brahman is the very being, the existence of this entire universe. And you might say, what is that? That's you. The real you. Not the body. And yet, that being, once we find it out, that itself is the body, that itself is the person, that itself is this entire universe. So are you saying, has it become this universe? Then we get into deep areas of causality. It really hasn't become anything else. It just is. And that's why all this appears. So, we are missing it 1,000 times because we encounter it 1,000 times every moment. Because whatever we encounter is it. And yet we are seeing the names and forms and activities, people and places and things, good and bad, thoughts, emotions, ideas. That's all we see. We don't see the background existence. All of this, in all our activities, consciousness shines forth. And when I say consciousness, I use the word a lot, and I've become more and more conscious, if you will, of misleading people. By consciousness, I mean that by which we are able to see, hear, smell, taste, touch right now, by which we are able to think, enjoy, suffer, remember, desire, understand. But also, this is where one has to be careful. What I'm talking about is equally present now and in deep sleep and in anesthesia and in coma. So clearly this consciousness I'm talking about is not the kind of consciousness we talk about in layman's terms or in medical terms. The two are not unrelated. The consciousness that we talk about in layman's terms or in medical terms or in consciousness studies or in neuroscience is related to this pure consciousness which we are talking about in Vedanta, as moonlight is related to sunlight. The two are not unrelated, but the two are not literally the same either. Moonlight can come and go. With the phases of the moon, you will see moonlight coming and going. Sunlight is ever present. Doesn't come and go. Doesn't go through phases. Also, moonlight is nothing other than sunlight. Similarly, the consciousness which we talk about when we use the word consciousness in day-to-day life, or in medical science, or in neuroscience, or in the philosophy of mind, that consciousness is, it can increase, it can decrease, it can be there, it can be not there. You can talk about unconscious. But here it is one central light which is ever shining. The light of lights, what we call. And in that sense, we are missing it all the time. Why we are missing it is covered over, as it were, by our experiences. The variety of experiences we are having. We are missing it 1,000 times. One reason is, another way of putting it is, because we don't recognize it. Swami Vivekananda said it's exactly like a puzzle. Have we seen those puzzles, like a puzzle picture? It seems like a random mess of dots, but you are told that there is a forest and there is a lion in the forest. You don't see it. Until you look carefully, suddenly the face of a lion appears. The pattern, it's a pattern. Once, Vivekananda says, once you have it, you'll never mistake it again. The next time you see the picture, it just takes the tiniest of effort for everything to fall into place because you have seen the pattern. Enlightenment is like that. Experiencing the world as it is and seeing through, quote unquote, seeing through this appearance. Even seeing through, see, language fails here. Even seeing through is only a way of putting it. It's like you see through the wave to the water. Now, it's not that the water is somewhere deep inside the wave, at the core of the wave, at the heart of the wave. The essence of the wave is water. You have to put aside lots of things and then get to the water. No, the center of the wave is water. But so is the top and the sides and the bottom. In fact, it's nothing but water. But we are missing it because we don't recognize it. Yeah. It's such a strange thing that he said, offhand. He was not really talking just to me, but he just said that to me. And then he talked to others also. And I've always remembered it. Here's a little story I'll share with you about this monk. I won't name him. At one time, he was very close to Swami Vireshwarananda, the 10th president of our order, Prabhu Maharaj. And this monk, he himself told another monk who told me. Now, Swami Vireshwarananda, he was an extraordinary person. Extraordinary. He was a tiny, tiny man. When he passed away, he weighed barely 50 pounds. But those who have seen him, they say that it's like he seemed to radiate intelligence through every pore of his being. Like the Gita says, Krishna says, Sarva dvareshu prakasham upajayate. The heights of sattva guna reached when, as if through every pore of every door of the body, light shines through. And it was a belief among people around him and many others that he could straight away see into your mind. So this Swami, who told me this, you're missing it 1,000 times, he decided to test it. And he used to attend to Swami Vireshwaranji. So one day he decided it was his turn to be on duty. And Swami Vireshwaranji was sitting on a sofa. He was practically almost blind. Yes, if I'm not wrong. But anyway, sitting on the sofa, people were coming to meet him, and this monk's duty was to stand behind, just to be present in case something was needed. And he decided he would stand there as he did every time, but he would think most awful thoughts, most un-monk-like thoughts. And he started doing that, thinking those thoughts. And Swami Vireshwarananda was sitting there, attending to the people who were coming. As they left, he turned around towards him and he said, "That's enough, stop testing me." It's just a story which came to my mind. Yeah. So what we are looking for is continuously present, all the time. It's all the time present. Yeah. That's the meaning of the story of the Nrisingha avatar. The little boy Prahlad was very devoted to God, and his father was Hiranyakashipu, this demon, and who didn't believe in God. And finally, and who had got this boon from. He had got this boon that nobody would be able to kill him. He had asked Shiva for this boon, that let me be immortal. And Shiva said, only the gods are immortal. Ask for something else. Then this demon, he thought of many conditions. Well, just bless me that I won't be killed in the morning, or in the evening, or in the night, or in the daytime. I won't be killed by gods, or by demons, or by human beings, or by animals. I won't be killed by weapons, and so on and so forth. Now, finally, when the time came to slay the demon, God appears as the avatar. And there's this fierce debate between father and son, by the demon and the little boy, whether God exists or not. And where is this precious God of yours? And the little boy says, everywhere, everywhere, all the time. Why? I don't see it. Is he there in this pillar? There's a big stone pillar in the palace. And the boy said, yes, he's there in the pillar. This is a story every little kid in India knows. And the demon, in fury, he kicks the pillar and shatters it. And from it emerges this terrifying, awesome form of a towering man-lion, Nrisingha, man-lion form. So not an animal, not a human being. And he comes and catches hold of the demon. And he had made the promise that he had this boon, he would not be killed in the day or the evening or at night. And the demon, to his horror, realizes it's twilight. It's neither day nor night. And I wouldn't be killed inside the house and outside the house. He took him on the edge of the house, the doorstep. I wouldn't be killed on the ground or in space or in water. he takes the demon on his lap without any, I won't be killed by any weapons. So the demon is torn apart by the claws of the lion, of the man lion. So the worlds are terrified by this, the wrathful, terrifying form of God. But it's only when the little boy goes close to this terrifying being that the being becomes pacified and loving towards that little child. So that's the story. I still remember, because in our the head monk's room we had this picture. It's a rare picture. Generally Hindus don't keep that picture because it's a wrathful presentation of God. It's a very terrifying, awesome picture of the demon, the little boy, and the man lion, God as the Nrisingha avatar, killing the demon. So present everywhere, but we don't see it. Is present everywhere? Yes. Even in the pillar? Yes. But we don't see it. The enlightened one sees. Does he see him as a man lion? Unless he is a devotee of the man, God as the man lion, he will not see as the man lion. He will see as the presence, as existence awareness. And those who have heard the story, pardon me, but I'm going to repeat the story. It's a very funny story of little kids who perform the play. This is a well-known play, Prahlad Charit. Okay, or it's also known as Hiranyakashipu Badh, the slaying of the demon Hiranyakashipu. So the little kids, and this really happened. The little kids staged the play, and one kid dressed as the demon, and the other kid dressed as Prahlad, the little boy devotee, and they had the debate, where is God? And there were these two pillars made of thermocol in the palace. And behind one of them, the other kid dressed as the man lion was hiding. And the plan was, the demon king would say, is he there behind this pillar? He would say, yes. And then the demon would go and kick down the pillar, and from behind would emerge the man lion. And that would be the sort of climax of the whole play. And the demon king said, so where is this God? Everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Is he behind this pillar? But he pointed to the wrong pillar. And the little kid improvised. He knew this was going to end badly if he came and knocked down that pillar, because he could see the man lion was hiding behind that pillar. Is he behind this pillar? And the little boy said, no, behind that pillar. That ruins all theology. All right, thank you. Can we have a question?
This question is from Abu Nayan. Can consciousness remain by itself without appearing as an object? I learned that Turiya is not actually the fourth. It is one without the second, and it is nothing other than the reality of the objects. So I was wondering, is there anything beyond the blankness of deep sleep?
So what he is talking about here is from the Mandukya Upanishad, that one consciousness appears as you the waker with this body and mind as this person and your waking world. That same consciousness is again experienced as you the dreamer and your dream world. And it's again experienced as deep sleep. I won't say you the deep sleeper and your deep sleep world, because practically you don't think that I am a deep sleeper and there's a deep sleep world. Then you are not sleeping. So in these three ways, the waker, the dreamer, the sleeper, and the consciousness by itself. That's why it's called the fourth. But it's really not the fourth. It is the one which is appearing as the three. But it is the one which is appearing as the three. Those three depend on the one. It's not what he is asking the other way around. That here, what's the sense seems to be that oh, so Turiya, the fourth Atman or Brahman, is the reality of this world. So this world is there, and here there is something in this world which is called Atman or Brahman. So that without this world there wouldn't be any Atman or Brahman. No, it's the other way around. The question is, can pure consciousness, can pure consciousness remain by itself without appearing as objects? The answer is, it always remains by itself. Can water remain by itself without breaking out into waves? Certainly. But the important thing is, even when it breaks out into waves, it still is water. It has not become anything else. Can gold remain by itself without becoming lots of jewelry and ornaments? Yes, it can be a lump of gold, but that's also a form, a shape. But even when it is a whole range of jewelry, it is still gold. Nothing has really happened to it. We think, no, something has happened. And, like a lot of a shape has been given to it, a form has been given. That's how our mind works. But really nothing has happened to the gold. Because if you take the gold away, what will happen to the form and the design and the name of the suppose the jeweler makes a wonderful necklace out of that gold. And we say, no, the gold is the only reality. And they said, you don't understand how jewelry works, Swami. It is the design and the name of the jeweler and the brand of Tiffany's. That's what gives it value, not just gold. And our answer will be fine. Let me just take the gold away. You keep your brand name. You can keep the sticker. You can keep the design in your mind. Let's see how much people pay for it. Nothing. So the ground of all of these is Brahman. And it remains as that. The one remains as it is. Pure consciousness remains as it is. When it even appears as objects, as the objective universe, waker and waking world, dreamer and dream world, deep sleep and the blankness of deep sleep, at the same time, pure consciousness remains as it is. These are the different ways in which it can be experienced. One way is the gross or physical way, as this world. Another way is the subtle way, the dream world or a world of our thoughts, feelings, emotions, the subtle, sukshma. Or in deep sleep, the seed state, the causal level, karana. Karana, sukshma, sthula, causal, subtle, gross or physical. These are different ways in which the same reality is experienced. It's experienced as variety in the physical state or subtle state. No variety, uniform blankness, no manifestation of anything, but it is the same reality. And at no point has anything happened to it. The other way around is not true, however. The subtle state, the physical state, and the causal state, they cannot exist without this reality. This reality exists by itself all the time, without even any reference to the causal, physical, subtle. And they put it so beautifully in Sanskrit or in Hindi. Sthula sukshma karana vyatirikta vilakshanatma. The pure consciousness distinct from the causal, the subtle and the physical. But the causal, subtle and physical have no existence at all apart from this reality. Yes. You one more question? Yes. One more question.
We have a couple of questions on why we should strive for enlightenment at all.
Yes.
The first one is from Varan Dawan. Swamiji, I have been following your teachings and discussions on the various paths to enlightenment, but why should I pursue enlightenment? My ultimate aspiration is to live a simple and fulfilling life as a good human being. While I recognize that setbacks and suffering are inherent to human existence, I wonder why I should strive for enlightenment when I can simply focus on leading a virtuous and contented life. And the second one is from Rajesh. After studying Vedanta and observing this world, I gained the insight that the ignorance of Brahman is eternal. Why should one strive for enlightenment if ignorance of Brahman is eternal and individual jivas are continuously born or separated from Brahman? What is the point of an individual jiva attaining enlightenment when Brahman will still suffer?
What is the purpose of attaining enlightenment? Why should we at all strive for it? Well, the first answer, straightforward, most blunt, would be don't. It's entirely voluntary. I think we should sit back and quietly think about what exactly do we want. What exactly do we want? I want to lead a simple, virtuous and contented life. Life must be simple without complications. And I want to be a good person, virtuous person, and contented, or as he says, fulfilled life, fulfillment. I want to be fulfilled. Well, try it. But I want all of that without enlightenment, minus the enlightenment part of it. It's a curious condition, though. So you mean that without spirituality, without the spiritual quest, in this evident material world, in this samsara, I want to be a good person here and that's it. All right, go ahead. Knock yourself out, as the Americans would say. But the whole point of seeking enlightenment is that after striving generations and generations across all civilizations of the world, across of all oceans of time and space throughout history, the mature minds in every civilization, every religion have come to the realization that it's not possible to do what you are saying. Fulfillment in the limited is not possible. Nobody has ever been fulfilled by this limited world. This much money, this family I've got, and this car, and this house, and this phone model. I'm going to stop at iPhone 6. No more. I'll be fulfilled. Try it. You won't be. Apple won't let you rest in peace. It's not Apple's fault. It's not Apple's fault. It's our fault. We are not designed for fulfillment in the limited. And it's not a fault. It's not a manufacturing defect. It's a sign to our innate greatness that we are infinite actually. And that's why anything short of the limitless will not fulfill us. Anything short of the transcendent will not fulfill us. That which is just presented to the senses, it's not enough for us. This world which is ephemeral, continuously vanishing, it can never give lasting fulfillment. You want lasting fulfillment. How can you have lasting fulfillment in this world when nothing is lasting? All the time the ground is being swept away under our feet. Samsara, the word, Sanskrit word, powerful Sanskrit word used for this condition where we are in. Samsara, it literally means samsarati, that which is continuously flowing away. And we demand, this will give me lasting fulfillment. It won't. It's not designed to. The Upanishad says, Yo vai bhuma tat sukham nalpe sukham asti. That which is the vast, that which is the limitless, that alone is fulfillment. There is no fulfillment in the limited, in the small. The reason is we are not small. We may pretend to be small. I'm just this little person and I'll be happy here. But I won't be. The Buddha realized it in another way. See if that works for you. The Buddha said, Sarvam dukkham, all is suffering. If all is suffering, how can you be happy here? You say, no, but I dispute that. All is not suffering. No, all is. Why? Imagine what it takes for us to be happy. He already gave some conditions. I want to be virtuous. I want fulfillment, a simple life. Yeah. So this much money, my health must be like this, people must behave like this with me, and these are the conditions of my life, economic, political, social, climate, all of this, physical health, insurance, all of this must fall into these, within these controlled parameters. Then only I will be happy. Notice how we are designed physically. We are designed to notice pain and suffering. Biologically, that makes sense. If some part of the body is injured, our entire attention goes there. No matter that 99.9% of the body is functioning very well. If there is a cut or a single toothache, our entire attention goes there and we are completely miserable. It takes a lot to make us happy. It takes very little to make us unhappy. And even if we work very hard to get all the optimum parameters in place, which I think I'll be happy, I think, little do we know. It's all our experience shows us that when we really do get what we wanted, we thought we wanted, it's almost always a disappointment. Suppose we get it, whatever we wanted, and then I force myself to say, good, now I have got everything that I wanted, and now I'm just going to be happy. I'm going to be, determined to be happy now. I'm committed to be happy because I got what I wanted. But the Buddha says, notice, anityam, anityam, sarvam anityam, impermanent, impermanent, indeed all is impermanent. Not only impermanent, kshanikam, kshanikam, sarvam kshanikam, momentary, momentary, all is momentary, transient. Not only impermanent and momentary, shunyam, shunyam, sarvam shunyam, empty, without any essence, psychologically empty, void, all is empty. And because things are by their very nature impermanent, momentary and empty, dukkham, dukkham, sarvam dukkham. If I arrange everything to my liking, all my parameters are check, 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 what will happen? Impermanent. Next moment, it will change. That's the very nature of the world. World, body, mind. Something will change. If there is any change from my optimum state, it will become suboptimal. I'm no longer happy and fulfilled anymore. The very nature of the world, of the body and the mind, which I want to be happy with this body and mind in this world, all are changing. And my state of happiness, optimum state, the narrow band of my state of happiness, it's very narrow, it's very limited. And the world is continuously in flow. How am I going to be happy there? It's not possible on this side of the limited. Upanishad says, nastya kritena akritam. Nasti kritena akritam. The limitless cannot be accomplished through the limited. You want limitless happiness, fulfillment, cannot be accomplished through limited means. And that's what we recognize after long striving through many lifetimes. But it's a matter of personal experience. Try it. Try it. You have got a good ambition. I want a simple life, contented, virtuous. Good. This is a good thing to aspire for. Try it. Maybe you will be one of the blessed few who will get some of it. And the interesting thing is, if you lead a simple and virtuous life, very soon a spiritual quest will come up in you. What's the point of all this? You begin to observe the ways of life and you begin to ask whys on there. And then again the question of enlightenment comes up. Yes. Yes, please come. The lady there will take her question at the end and we'll wrap up because we have run out of time. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Pranam Swamiji, I am Adhish. My question is, how do you keep up the vigor of your study of Advaita Vedanta over a prolonged period of time? For context, I've been studying for about 3.5 years now, and my guru is Swami Sarvapriyananda in Chennai. He does lectures, and I follow those lectures, and I study as much as I can. But then there comes a point where there used to be a time where I used to get insights almost every day, and there used to be so many interesting things that it's just blowing my mind. And over time, I've come to the understanding that it is unreal, and there is one reality that's underlying, but it's not translating into that, that thing that people can easily assimilate, and in their daily interactions it's normal that this is very evident to them. How do you keep that vigor going, and especially how do you keep that vigor going through trying times in life?
Yes. First of all, you're blessed that you have this interest in Advaita Vedanta, in non-duality. One of the radical texts of non-dual Vedanta, Avadhuta Gita, it starts with saying, Ishwar anugraha deva pumsam advaita vasana. It's by the special grace of God that you have a liking for non-duality, for Advaita. Also, you are blessed to be following one of the most authentic teachers. I'm being conservative when I'm saying one of the most authentic teachers of traditional Advaita Vedanta in the world today. Now, when you say, I study this, I used to get so many insights earlier. Why used to? I used to get, initially when we read about it, there's an excitement of understanding, of new knowledge dawning, new insights, that's great. But if we study and we begin to assimilate that, it becomes natural to us, kind of second nature to us. And that itself is a huge step forward It is itself is the source of peace and joy and strength. We get contentment from that knowledge that there is this underlying one existence consciousness bliss, that I am that. And that's the source of contentment. That's the source of joy. And from that perspective, I can face the challenges of life. That's the source of strength. Advaita Vedanta, properly done through study and reflection and meditation, it should be a matter of continual joy of, here I'm reading this, which is a description of reality. It's so stunning to see what the books are saying is the reality that I'm experiencing. So it gives you a perpetual joy. What you're speaking about, it might be that because you've been doing it for 2 or 3 years now, it's become natural to you. It's no longer new or novel to you, which is good. Suppose I ask you that, oh, so it's not all that interesting or exciting anymore. Stop it. Just go back to what you were earlier. Would you agree to do that? You wouldn't. You wouldn't, right? Yes. Because what you have discovered is so precious. It's not that I found it was rather interesting, now it's quite boring, I'm through with it now. Then something has gone wrong. But you're not saying that. It's become natural for you. And the rest is a matter of staying with it until it becomes a living reality for you. At one point you will not even need it, but that point is when you are living in and as Brahman, where it is an effortless presence for you. You don't need the books or teachings to support that. There was a very great monk in the Himalayas at one time in Rishikesh called Bhikshu Shankaracharya. He was regarded by the other monks and devotees around at that time, this is the 1930s, 40s, as an enlightened person, at least a very great non-dualist. And he lived an extremely austere life. He had what is called a charpoi, like a wooden cot. And he would live under a tree. I think he had a hut also. But no books. So somebody went and asked him, Swami, what kind of a non-dualist are you? You don't have any books. Non-dualists have lots of books. They talk in Sanskrit and they quote this and that. And they keep studying this book and studying and teaching books. Where are your books? And this monk said, oh, I have books. I have 3 books and I read them every day. And they show me what I have to see about the truth. What are the 3 books? Waking, dreaming and deep sleep. I read them every day. So the life itself is a book for him now. It's continuously showing him Brahman. Yes. Thank you. Stay with it. It's the most valuable thing in life. All right, the gentleman there, will stop with that. And then the lady who raised her hand later on. Later. Yes.
Namaste, Swami. My name is Shri. So my question is, the experience of nothingness we feel in deep sleep, is that the same we will feel after death? And do enlightened beings experience the same thing while being awake?
The experience of deep sleep, of nothingness which we have in deep sleep. Notice the phrasing of that question. The experience of nothingness in deep sleep. And that's very well put. It's an experience. It's not nothing. It's an experience. An experience of absence, let us say. In that case, who or what is the experiencer? It is awareness itself. It is being itself. It's consciousness itself, to which a blankness appears. And in dreams, to which a subtle world of fancies and imaginations appears. And to which, in the waking state, a physical world populated by people and objects appears. Which is the same one consciousness, underlying consciousness. And that's called the Turiya. This is what we'll experience after death? It's not an important question. And the answer is no. Occasionally, yes. Just as in life, we occasionally experience blankness, in deep sleep, in anesthesia. Similarly, after death, there can be periods when we will experience that blankness. There can be periods when we will experience other things. See, what happens at death? The physical body dies. The subtle body of the mind continues. As long as the mind is there, There will be what is called drishti, experience, vision. You will see. What shuts down in deep sleep? Not pure consciousness. It's the mind which shuts down in deep sleep. What shuts down is destroyed in death. Just the body, not even the mind. If the mind is there, sometimes the mind will be shut down and you will experience blankness. Sometimes the mind will function and you will experience light and maybe angels floating around or other beings. Or whatever loka we go to, the mind goes to, it will experience those things there. None of which is of particular interest to Advaita Vedanta. The only thing that Advaita Vedanta takes away from all this is all these experiences show us we are awareness, we are pure consciousness. That's all. The particular kind of experience which we'll have, that religion, parapsychology, they may be interested in. Advaita Vedanta says experience will always continue because consciousness is consciousness. When it appears as its own object, it will experience something. The important thing is not what it experiences, but that it experiences, that it is the very nature of the light which experiences. What do enlightened beings experience when they are like Jivan Muktas around like us? You have to ask them. But the answer would be, they experience pretty much the same thing as we experience, and yet not. If you say, are you seeing people? Yes, of course. What else would I see? Are you seeing trees and sky and earth? Yes, of course. What else would I see? Are you experiencing one limitless existence, consciousness, bliss? Yes, of course. So this is the difference between them and us. Yes. The lady there. Yes, please come. That's the last question.
Pranam Swamiji. My name is Shri.
And the person who asked the question just earlier, his name was also Shri. Yes.
So, Thakur Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel, or in the Kathamrita, some people have to fulfill desire to pursue, I'll say it in Bengali, and then, kichu loker bhog na hole jog hoy na. So some people have to consume before they are ready to renunciate, ready to renounce. So Thakur says some people. So, right off the bat, he must be talking about me. But is that not, short of the avatar, is that not everyone at some point of their evolution?
Yes, pretty much so. All of us. The reason we are here is because we want to experience. What's the very nature of desire? I, the awareness, the consciousness, would like to experience this object. It could be a thing, it could be a cookie, it could be a job, it could be a vacation, it could be a person, a relationship, it could be earth or heaven. I want to experience this. This desire to experience particular things is what drags us from lifetime to lifetime. What's wrong with this? As long as I want to experience particular things, I will be in a particular name and form and a shape. And I will experience those things. And nothing is free. I'll be caught in the cycle of causality. I will set into motion these forces which will give me what I want, but I'll also bind myself to that. To experience life in this form, I must have a body. To have a body, I must go through birth and aging and eventual death. It's not a free lunch. So causality, setting into motion causality, we are trapped in it. That good, bad, none escape the law. Whosoever wears a form wears the chain too. We are put on a form, then we are wearing a chain. There's a lot of past karma behind it. And it will give rise to some of the things which we desired at some time. Say, I didn't want this. No, we did. We just forgotten. We ordered, and we looked at the menu and ordered. Now it's coming. But this divine restaurant, the waiters take a pretty long time. And by the time it comes around, we have forgotten what we ordered. So it's coming to us. And it's not exactly what we hoped or what we wanted. And that's the reality check we have to all undergo. And then we want more things, more variety of things. And everything that we want, we will keep getting. Swami Vivekananda said, never desire anything, for you will get it. If you get it, you're trapped in causality. So we must free ourselves from this. Vivekananda says, thine only is the hand that holds the rope that drags thee on. Now what is the way out? Let go thy hold, sannyasi bold. Say Om Tat Sat Om. Now letting go thy hold, that is renunciation. First of all, I must be convinced of the reality of spiritual life. Then only I can renounce. Renounce does not mean, oh, this is all awful, I give it up. That's the straight way to depression and unhappiness. You have nothing higher to look forward to in life. Then it's depression, unhappiness, alienation. Spiritual people are not depressed or unhappy. They are seeking something higher. A young man became a monk. His classmates, friends asked him, why do you want to give up all these things? Why do you want to become a monk? What do you want? Why are you giving up all these things? And he said, his answer was so perceptive. He said, I want everything. It sort of naturally came out. I want everything. This is a very truthful thing to say. I don't want particular small things. I would just want all of it. That's why you let go your hold on particular things. Now, that takes experience. For most of us, we have to experience something in life. All of that which we are going through, once we become spiritual seekers, we want moksha, liberation, nirvana, then all of this seems to be unnecessary bother. The thing is, we have ordered all this and it will keep coming to us, what we have ordered. Now, what the way out is, if we are no longer particularly interested in this life and its people and activities and objects, then what do we do? Let go of it, go up to the mountain tops and be a hermit. That's one way out. But that's not possible for many people. Many people are in fact so caught by their past karma that they can't do this. It's not possible. It's not possible. Prince Siddhartha and being a Buddha, giving up everything, walking away from the palace, that is possible for Siddhartha, but not for everybody. Yashodhara, his wife, and they had a child, Rahula, she wouldn't have been able to do that because the child was there. It would have been heartbreaking for her to give up the child for her own spiritual quest. Ultimately, however, they did become spiritual seekers, both Yashodhara and Rahula. Now, then what do we do? If we cannot actually give up, either I don't have the time, energy, it's not appropriate for me, already I'm committed to a family, it's not practically possible for me to become a monk. If you force it, you'll very quickly realize that was not the way. Because by being a monk like that, sitting on the mountain top, and then you suddenly realize nothing is working out. Even that is not working out. I don't feel like meditating. I fall asleep when I meditate. And then the mosquitoes come and bite me. So there will be problems associated with that lifestyle also. So the intelligent thing to do, and what Vedanta advises is, once I decide that no, my goal is no longer these limited pleasures and activities and these limited goals which society puts forward before me, my goal is God realization. In the Vedantic sense, in the Buddhistic, Christian sense, whichever sense, every religion has at its core this mystical option, this spiritual option. I won't say mystical, spiritual option. That the highest goal is open to you, you want it. Now what do? Use the life as it is right now. Make changes, whatever changes you can make. The people around you, your circumstances right now, start spiritual practice there itself. Try to spiritualize that life. If you are at home and you can't leave home, turn the home into an ashram. If you have a job which you are holding and you cannot afford to let go of the job, turn the job into karma yoga. Are there people around you, you can't run away and be a monk? Then see divinity in those people and the duties that we have, the obligations that we have, we discharge those obligations as a spiritual practice. And also take an audit of our lives. How much time is spent in nonsense? A lot of things become nonsense once we realize my goal is God realization. There's no more purpose, no point to those activities, and then cut down on those. You'll have quite a lot of free time, psychic energy and actually time energy left over, and that you can direct towards your study, your meditation, your prayer. Divinize life, spiritualize life itself. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you very much. It was a very nice session. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good morning and namaste everybody.
Morning, Swamiji.
We are back again for another installment of We Ask Swami. So we get all these questions from all over the world, and we came up with this idea of an internet forum. So where we select some of those questions and we try to discuss them and try to answer them to the best of our ability. And it's uploaded on the net. So that has turned out to be one of the most popular things which we do over the years. We also take questions from the live audience. So if you have questions, I'll ask you to raise your hands. I'll call upon you. You can come forward here. And there's a microphone. You can come here and ask your question. Diane is going to read out the questions from the internet audience. Diane, what do we have this morning?
Well, we have two questions on the same subject, Swamiji. The first one is from an 18-year-old from Calcutta in India called Atri. She says, I was a hardcore atheist for as long as I can remember. I was also severely depressed and suicidal for the longest time. It was only recently that I came across one of your talks titled, Who Am I?, which really made me reconsider. For the first time, I found the most logical, rational explanation to God, as well as life and the self. I got the intuitive understanding, and it made me look at things in a different light entirely. But I struggle to grasp the part where you repeatedly focus on love God and develop a personal relationship with God. Correct me if I'm wrong, but God is nothing but that pure consciousness, the reason for all our experiences, and that which is subjective. Love is usually felt by one for another, but there's no one another in non-dualism. There's only one subject because of which the objects seem to exist. How do I love something subjective without objectifying it? I do not know how to channel my intellectual understanding into devotion. Whenever I hear God, I think of the pure consciousness on which the world is being reflected, and how nothing is real, and then loving consciousness seems absurd to me. And then there's another question from somebody else.
Okay, we can read the other question too,
Yes.
if it's the same
This
kind.
is from Renato Billo. How can I think of the divine and adore him when I state that he is just awareness and nothing else? How can I combine my idea of the divine as pure awareness with my personal God as perceptible protector and guide?
Yes. Both questions are about the same thing. How do you reconcile devotion, which intuitively seems dualistic, and the non-dual knowledge, that there is one limitless consciousness appearing as all of this, and I am that limitless consciousness. So how is devotion, bhakti, possible in that one non-dual consciousness in Brahman? And yet here we seem to speak about both. So how is that possible? First of all, let's appreciate the force of that statement, that it's not possible. As Atri says, how can I be devoted or love pure consciousness. That idea seems absurd to me. Sri Ramakrishna said that there were these two attitudes in spiritual life. Either you want to taste sugar or you want to become sugar. Sometimes he would ask, do you want to become sugar or do you want to taste sugar? The devotee says, I want to taste sugar. I want to enjoy the bliss of God, of establishing a loving relationship with God. The jnani, the one on the path of knowledge, says that I want to be one with God. I want to realize my oneness with the divine. I want to realize I am Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. These seem to be two different attitudes, and they don't seem to be... how can you reconcile being sugar and tasting sugar at the same time? So yes, this is, first of all, devotion is possible. There must be some kind of duality, that one loves another. One loves one's own nature. One can put it that way, but that seems to be stretching the meaning of love too much. Adi Shankaracharya says the real meaning of bhakti is the intense desire to find out who am I. Swaswarup Anusandhanam, that's the real bhakti. That might be, but that's not what we normally understand as bhakti. We understand bhakti as our devotion to God in some form. In the theistic religions, God is to be worshipped, adored, believed in. And there is some element of distinction at least. Either a clear distinction between God and devotee, or at least some element, part and whole distinction between God and devotee. So that's it's understood what Atreyu says, and the other question also from Renato. Yes. So I'm saying first, yes. And next, you can hear a but there. But no, it's possible. Both are possible. You can be a jnani and a bhakta at the same time. First of all, look at the evidence. Look at Sri Ramakrishna. He was a jnani and a bhakta. Look at Vivekananda, Ma Sharada. They were jnanis and bhaktas. Look at Ramana Maharshi, who was regarded as just embodying non-dual knowledge. But he was full of devotion for Arunachala Shiva. Very deep devotion. Look at Adi Shankaracharya. I was just looking up our book of hymns and prayers in Sanskrit, Stavananjali, and that's a collection of the choicest hymns in Sanskrit from a religion that's at least 5,000 years old, starting from the Vedas down to our time. A collection, an eclectic collection. And how many of those hymns, which are almost all of them are devotional, almost all, how many of them are attributed to one person, Adi Shankaracharya? I was counting, nearly 1/4 were from one source in 5,000-year-old collection. So here is this person who embodies Advaita Vedanta more better than Adi Shankaracharya himself. And yet he is a great bhakta. So first of all, it's possible. It's possible. But then the question remains, how? How can we reconcile it? I'll give you a few approaches to this. One is, one might have one approach in spiritual life, the path of knowledge, for example, as predominant, and the devotion aspect as secondary, not so expressed. I have seen very senior monks in our order who are like that either devotion predominated or knowledge predominated. Swami Vivekananda recommends the harmony of the 4 yogas, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga and Raja Yoga, for a well-developed, harmonious spiritual life. Now, in each person, in each of our cases, the 4 yogas can be present, but the mix need not be the same in each person's case, depending on our predispositions, on our philosophical approach. See, the mix may be different. For example, traditional philosophies of Vedanta, Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita, Dvaita-Advaita and so on, in most cases they have a combination of these yogas, but they're different according to the philosophical paradigm of each school. So in Advaita Vedanta, enlightenment is realization that I am Brahman. What is enlightenment? You realize I am Brahman. And that realization alone leads to moksha, liberation. That alone leads to Jivan Mukti, freedom while living. So that is the realization that Advaita Vedanta talks about. And that is attainable, how? Only through Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge, through Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, systematically listening to, studying the Vedantic texts, reasoning about it and meditating upon one's understanding and conclusions. But at the same time, traditional Advaita Vedanta gives a lot of emphasis on Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and meditation, Upasana. So devotion, meditation and selfless work. They are all at a secondary level, at a preparatory level, at a purifying level. By Karma Yoga, one is supposed to purify one's mind, and by meditation, one is supposed to focus the purified mind. And this purified and focused mind is very useful for attaining jnana, knowledge that I am Brahman. So all yogas are there, even in a jnana yogi's life. Now, someone like Ramanuja comes and he flips it around. And he says, Bhakti is the highest. By jnana, we realize that we are part of the divine. We are not just flesh and blood, but we are pure consciousness. We are part of the divine consciousness. Then you establish relationship of the individual consciousness with the supreme consciousness. And that relationship is one of bliss, of love, of devotion, of bhakti. So bhakti will take you to the highest, according to Ramanuja. But again, my point here is, notice the elements of jnana and bhakti are both present in Vishishtadvaita Vedanta. Karma also. All of these schools, they have a role for Karma Yoga. They all admit the purifying power of Karma Yoga. So the mix of all four yogas, the harmony of four yogas, is there in each of the paths, most of these schools. Some schools will exclusively favor one. So for example, the Achintya Bheda Veda school, the school of Bengal Vaishnavism, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, that says exclusively devotion. Bhakti alone will take you to the highest. So this is one way that the harmony of the yogas is there in our spiritual life from the very beginning. In one sense you are a jnani, or in another sense you are a bhakta. All are possible at the same time. Not only possible, Vivekananda strongly recommends all should be there in our spiritual practice. The traditional schools of Vedanta also recommend that, except that there is a hierarchy of the yogas. Another way in which the two can be reconciled is when when Swami Vivekananda says about Sri Ramakrishna and himself, he says, I am jnana only on the outside. On the inside, my heart is very soft, he says. I am all devotion inside, bhakti, love inside. But he, the old man, he meant Sri Ramakrishna, old man. By the way, Sri Ramakrishna was barely 50 when he passed away. The old man. So the old man is bhakti on the outside, but inside he was all jnana.